I think, in all seriousness, and just so everyone knows, my favorite movie, not Batman movie, not comic book movie, my favorite movie is The Dark Knight. Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. With that being said, I think The Batman, this new movie, is better than two of the Nolan films. I think it's better than Batman Begins. I think it's better than Dark Knight Rises. And just to be fair, I really don't think it's close.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is a fantastic day outside to discuss other people's excellence. I am the unforgettable one, Mr. Brett Carroll. Charles is always daydreaming, and we're two guys that like BSN at work. Let me tell you something that wasn't no BS. The Batman was not BS. That was a great goddamn movie. A great goddamn movie. And I'm glad you have all your paraphernalia.
All
I should have used my Batman cup. I usually use my Steeler cup. I should have brought my Batman cup, but I just got my sparkling water right here. I should have got my cup, but at least I got my.
Hold on, I got to show people. So I put it up on my Instagram. Still in the plastic.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
$30 for an extra. Oh, and
the max. Yeah, there you go.
And this is all natural. This is all the stuff I actually own. It's just on my.
You can't tell. We hate the Batman. We think he's an overrated superhero. We think he's a piece of garbage. I don't know why anybody likes that guy. Fuck Bruce Wayne.
Wow.
If you can't tell, that's how we feel.
Right. We obviously aren't big fans of the Batman. Yo, real talk, to start this off, right? I'm going to say exactly, because I saw it once. Usually, sometimes with the bigger ones, me and Brett see the movie twice before we actually record a spoiler talk. And, spoiler warning, we're going to spoil everything in the Batman. So if you have not seen the Batman 2022 with Robert Pattinson and the phenomenal cast that is in this movie, the Matt Reeves vehicle.
Well, let me ask you now. We're gonna drop this week or next week? Don't matter.
I'm gonna drop this probably as soon as possible, just cause.
That's fine. We could drop it this week. So yeah, spoiler. Go.
Super spoiler. All the spoilers.
Go watch the movie, then come back and watch this.
Yeah.
If it was next week, I'm gonna say, well, fuck you. You should have seen it already. But this week, go watch it. Then come watch it. Then come watch this. Yeah. Go ahead. Finish what you want to say.
I think, in all seriousness, and just so everyone knows, my favorite movie, not Batman movie, not comic book movie, my favorite movie is The Dark Knight. Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. With that being said, I think The Batman, this new movie, is better than two of the Nolan films. I think it's better than Batman Begins. I think it's better than Dark Knight Rises. And just to be fair, I really don't think it's close. I think this portrayal of Batman, because for those who don't know, this movie is based off of a couple different things. The one non-Batman property it's based off of is Seven. If you've never seen Seven, what's in the box? Go see Seven.
No, what's in the box?
How come on?
That's a great movie.
The one time my wife doesn't do it. Okay. Love you, babe. You couldn't hear. I'm trying not to. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, it's Batman Year One. It's The Long Halloween and it's Hush. All just, whatever elements you like, because Long Halloween is pretty much a Two-Face, driven vehicle. Hush is Hush. Even the animated movie included the Riddler for God knows why. But, and then Year One, and this movie takes place in Year Two of him being the Batman. And it alludes to him being nocturnal for the better part of the last 2 years, which I don't think a lot of casual moviegoers, people that only know Batman through the movies, quite get, because they're like, oh, I didn't really like the things they say they don't like are like what I do like and what Pattinson brought to the role. He hasn't developed this billionaire playboy persona yet. He's just been Batman. He's about 27, 28 years old. He's just became Batman. It's all he's been doing for almost 2 whole years. And I like how it alluded to Alfred being the one to train him, not necessarily the League of Shadows, which is also just a certain, storyline, which I like, because I thought the Alfred relationship in its own way might be one of the better Alfred-Bruce relationships, period, on film. But as far as him as the Batman, he might be the best Batman. And y'all know I like Batfleck. But he might be the best Batman, because the opening scene alone, which you saw in the trailers, that him coming out of the darkness and beating the holy living hell out of the confirmed Joker gang, Holy shit, that was perfect. That whole setup where you had the criminals just looking into the darkness, like, yeah, fuck this.
Afraid.
Yeah,
Oh, I don't need my spray can. Well, I'll just, I'll go get another one.
yeah. Dropping shit, just like, you know what?
And that's what he wanted to be. He wanted to strike fear into the criminal underworld. When you see this symbol in the sky, you know you're fucked up. And they all had that look in their face, like, oh, all right, let's is he here? Is he here? Because again, he's a myth, he's a legend. Because especially year two, people know about him, but they don't know yet. You know what I mean? And so it's funny, even the Joker gang, when he did show up, they're like, what are you supposed to be? And it's like, yeah.
Vengeance. Yo, that shit still hit in the theater. Because you knew it was coming. You knew the vengeance was coming. But then that long shot of him just fucking up like 5 people at a time, you're like, oh, this is like brutal. Because a couple of those hits, you were like for the bad guy, like stay down. Like, why are you getting back up? Like, and you said it to me that that's the dude that plays Tim Drake in Titans. I don't think he's playing Tim Drake in the movie, but I think it's a cool casting decision.
Well, I don't know. He might. There's some people that theorize that he might. Because again, part of the whole thing was the orphan thing that they played up, right? And how Bruce obviously had a thing for kids, especially kids that lost their parents. And the way he kind of looked at him and let him walk away, he kind of knew, like, okay, you're obviously just a lost kid doing stupid stuff. You're not really part of this gang. Could that allude to Robin? Now, some people don't want that. A lot of people are saying, no, like, do the kid Robin thing, because Robin's supposed to be a kid. Like, him adopting a grown-ass man wouldn't make sense, like they've been doing in the movies. So who knows? You know what I mean? Who knows? But we'll see. I thought it was great. Like I said, the beginning part alone of his impact on the city in just 2 years, where you know, like, you have to second guess yourself, because who is coming out of the shadows to get me? Because they don't know it's just a man in a suit.
But that's also the crazy part about the overarching theme of the story. His impact, like, because anybody that's a Batman fan knows it's like this chicken and the egg thing when it comes to Batman and his villains. Not only did he get created from the crime that was in Gotham, and he's there to try to stop it, but he also completely exponentially increased it because he created the Joker. Essentially, he in this movie alone, it showed how the Riddler was inspired by the Batman. One of the best parts of the movie is up for debate because some people think, and it's set up like this on purpose, that when he's saying Riddler saying Bruce Wayne, and then there's one line that shows you that he doesn't know Batman's Bruce Wayne. He's like, oh, we almost got him. Like, and that's one of my favorite scenes. Nothing's happening in the scene besides dialogue, and it's one of the most tense scenes in the whole movie. And that's what makes it a great movie.
Well, also the at the end when they beat all the thugs and they said, "Who are you?" and they all say, "We are vengeance." You know what I mean? So he realizes, oh wait, I'm having a bad impact on the city as well because I'm inspiring the new criminals. I'm inspiring the new criminals, and they don't have a code like I do. So, you know,
the Gotham PD scene when he got, like, you know, exploded essentially. And I thought it was interesting, like the guy that didn't like him, like one of the head cops, who I don't think was dirty now that I'm thinking about it, because he insulted him like, oh, how do we know we can trust you? And he looked visibly like, yo, I'll fucking hit you right now too. So I don't think he was a dirty cop. I think the other dude was the dirty cop, obviously. But how it's like when the one dude was like, fuck it, let's take off his mask, and just grabs him, like, and he fucking rocks like 3 of them. It's like, that's 3 assaulting an officer's charge. What do you say? He says something like, I'll add another.
5. I was like, oh Jesus. I mean, speaking of Jeffrey Wright as Jim Gordon, just come on, just
might be the best Gordon. And also, you have to put in context. I'm not saying like what's his face, Gary Oldman in the Nolan trilogy isn't a great Jim Gordon, but this is again his year 2. This is the closest I want to a Batman origin story these days, and he's Jim Gordon. One of the best parts about this movie for me, as the fan that I am, is that they made Catwoman black and they made Jim Gordon black, and no one bitched about it. Not no one. No one was like, oh my God, rah, 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 PC woke bulls. No one cared because the actor and actress that they chose, everyone was like, yeah, I can see that. And it worked. And that's a big difference in a lot of castings when people complain about a casting because of what they are compared to who the character is supposed to be. So I'm just happy because I think Zoe Kravitz killed it. I'm about to say Zoe Saldana. Zoe Kravitz killed it. And what you said, Jeffrey Wright is his real name. Yeah. I know him from Narcisse.
Yeah, I mean, he's a phenomenal actor. He killed it. That again, that whole scene at the police station. Hey, take the key. Go to the back. Go up the stairs. You're gonna have to hit me, But then he hits him like, damn, you could at least held the punch. I did.
Yeah, could have pulled the punch a little bit.
I did. I did. It's like
that's why the humor was good Batman humor because his voice changed. It was like, I did. Like I don't know what you want from me. Like,
I had to make it realistic. Like
thumb drive, and how Gordon just
hilarious.
Yeah, that's what he said. Hilarious.
Oh, this guy's hilarious. He was just awesome. The whole when they caught the penguin after the car chase.
Bro, that's Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
There was a time when people didn't have faith in Colin Farrell anymore because he put out a couple stinkers. And this dude is in a movie where there was people in the theater that forgot that was Colin Farrell until the cast rolled, and you heard people read it, and because they went, oh, it's fucking Colin Farrell in the theater. They remembered he's in the movie. That's how good it was. And you know who? Again, spoilers. If you made it this far, fuck you. You already know what we're doing. Like the guy who plays Joker. Do you know who's Joker? Like who the actor is? That's crazy, dude. I didn't know who it was when I saw him, and I was just like, this guy. And then I thought about it. I'm like, oh yeah, this guy can play creepy. This guy can figure it out.
Eternals, he's the guy that controls people's minds.
Yeah, but he wasn't creepy.
He had a whole
I'm saying for how creepy that power can be. Me and you watch The Boys, bro. Like how creepy that character can be. In Eternals, he's not really creepy.
Well, let's be real. It's a Disney movie. You know what I mean? Like let's be real. If that was Warner Brothers and he did it, his cult would have been a lot creepier. And they were still pretty creepy. They're like in the middle of the woods, like doing God knows what. He's
the Joker.
Yeah, he turned them on like puppets. Like, no, that was still kind of creepy.
What's more valuable the less you have of them? A friend.
A friend. And as soon as he said that, I was like,
nope.
Friend.
Fuck.
Like, okay. And then he started. Now, me personally, I didn't like that they hinted at the Joker that early, only because Batman has such a huge rogue gallery.
I'm fine with it because there's a Joker gang. You can't have that gang and not at least.
I know, but let's leave the Joker to the third movie. Like, you know what I mean?
I'm down for that. I'm down for that, but I'm just saying in a movie that literally opens up with technically the first bad guy you see Batman fight is the Joker gang. You have to at least have a passing line about him, which I was waiting for. I thought what you thought. It was going to be like something in the background, like, oh yeah, like that clown they locked up in Arkham or something, like, something throwaway line. And then when they shot him and you heard that just easy voice, like, oh, come on, like kind of like It. It's kind of like sounded like Pennywise from It. Then I was like, oh, get the fuck out of here. Because that, in my cynical head about Hollywood, I'm like, that means they casted somebody and it didn't get spoiled. Like, because I don't have any faith in that anymore. So when he said that line, that riddle that means Joker, I was floored. I hope the next one, rumor is Court of Owls, and I've been telling you for years, read the comic. That shit is
Court of Owls will be great. He said he wants to do Freeze. I'm okay with that. But that's my point. Like, he has not only does he have such a great Rose Guard, he has so many other iconic people that it's like we don't have to do the Joker every single time.
Yeah, but then you know that the studio made the highest grossing rated R film with that IP, so we kind of do.
I know, but it's just like,
bro, if there was a Robin movie that grossed $1 billion, he'd be in this movie too. Just saying.
No, I get it. I get it. I'm not saying don't do the Joker because you can't do a Batman story without the Joker. That's his greatest villain, right? That it's like Spider-Man. Eventually, Tom Holland's Spider-Man has to get his own Green Goblin. But the point I'm making is, at some point, it's like, you don't have to go for that every time right away. Like, let's build up to it.
But that's what I think they're doing. Because you could take that scene out and it's still the same movie.
No, that's again, I agree with that.
But that's building to it.
That's why I didn't appreciate the scene, because to me, I think it dilutes the greatness of this movie. Because it's like, hey, great movie. Oh, that's right. Don't worry, Joker. And it's like, come on, guys. Like, no. You guys made a great Riddler. Like, let's just let
I don't know, man. I think it fits because Joker manipulating Riddler is terrifying, which is it's also very possible because in Hush, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, everybody, but I'm almost positive Batman thinks it's the Joker in Hush, and he beats the living hell out of him. And Joker's like, "Listen, man, I'm ready to die at your hand for something I actually did, and I actually didn't do this." And it's like, I will help you because I don't want you becoming like this if it wasn't for something I did. Like that, because that's how much of a sociopath the Joker is. Like, he literally doesn't want anyone breaking Batman unless it's him, which is also is all types of dark in itself. But I think they did exactly what they're saying you want, because the slow build is Joker. Like, if there's a second one, it is Court of Owls or it's Freeze. And the Joker breaks out of Arkham halfway through that movie, and we just get another one scene or two or whatever, you know what I mean? But he's not the main baddie again. That's exactly what you want.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think that's the way to go.
That's all I want. Let's not do Joker for the second movie. Let's save him for the final act, because he is the final act. Like, he's the guy that brings Batman closest to breaking his code, right? Every single time. He's the one that gets Batman, and that's on his, and he's the type of psychopath that's his only goal in life at this point. Like, I want to break your code.
Yeah, but the point is we just got sidetracked talking about the Joker, and he's in like maybe 90 seconds of this movie. But that's how powerful the Joker is, that we started talking about the Joker and he's in 90 seconds of this movie. Paul Dano, just to get back on track, right? And there's another hot take coming at you. I think what Paul Dano did for Riddler in this movie it's close to what Heath Ledger did to Joker in Dark Knight. Not talking about the performance as an actor, because there was more Heath Ledger than there was Paul Dano. I'm talking about the impact it has on the fandom regarding the character, because after Heath Ledger's Joker, the Joker became a lot more openly calculated. Like, people knew this dude is insane, but he's not the chaotic insane that he's pretending to be. Yeah. And likewise, people knew the Riddler was supposed to be some type of genius, but people didn't associate it with like a Zodiac killer in our real world until somebody just said, hey, if this dude existed, because the one of my favorite lines is when the Riddler straight up says, he's like, I couldn't have had that concentrated violence like you. I can't go in there and do that. It's like, I have to use my head. And that's exactly who the Riddler is. One of the craziest part is I was talking to my wife, and she was asking me about the Riddler, and I was like, usually he's shown as an older dude. Like, he's not that young. He's usually, half the time, it's like his hair is graying or something, because he's supposed to be just that much smarter. He's not a fighter. He's usually, placing bombs somewhere. And if you don't get the riddle, kablooey, Right. So now it's going to be a lot less guy in a question mark suit and a lot more Zodiac killer Riddlers out there.
Which is also what makes I think that's another thing that makes Batman's villains so great. They all challenge a different part of him. The Riddler always challenged the greatest detective part of Batman. Like, that's their relationship. So the fact that they made this a psycho thriller, police noir type of movie, I thought was brilliant, because that's how you should do the Riddler, because that's how he attacks Batman. And again, I think that's what makes Batman such a great superhero. His rogue gallery challenges him in different ways, right? Some people's rogue gallery is, basically,
and he's not the world's greatest yet, because
right,
he fucked up. Him and Gordon fucked up a couple of times, and people got mad at that. And it's like, it's year 2. You can't have life experience in things if you didn't experience it yet. Like,
right, he's not a detective yet. He's just starting to do this.
Yeah,
and even the point of he missed the bombs because he thought the jig was up. Right, he stopped looking for clues. That was the whole point. He stopped looking for clues because he didn't want to dish on himself. He thought that the Riddler had figured it out. He was going to confront the Riddler about it first before they can find anything. And it wasn't until he confronted the Riddler that he didn't know who he was. And that's the ironic part about the Riddler. He's like, oh, I thought you were smarter than this. I'm disappointed. No, it's not that you thought he was not as smart as you thought he was. He's too smart because he thought you figured it out and you didn't.
He overthought what you thought.
Right. He gave you too much credit. He thought that you figured out who he was. And so he completely walked away from the crime scene so he wouldn't figure shit out because he didn't want to expose himself. He thought that you were about to give him up. That's why when he's saying Bruce, and he's looking at the camera and the camera's rolling, he's like, shit, like what am I gonna do here? Like,
we almost got him.
And he was like, what?
Like, yeah, we're making a great team. And it was just
I wanted you to sit here and watch the final finale. He's like, whoa, what are you talking about? And so then Riddler has a whole breakdown. He's like, no, this is not how it's supposed to be. This is not how I dreamed of. That whole scene was fantastic.
Oh yeah, he had like a psychotic break because they weren't on the same page, which is all. And again, it was so influenced by like different Batman IPs because when they had the two names, and this is subtle, this wasn't like beat over the head for motivation. It's just hinted at. So this is complete speculation. I could be wrong. But his dad was the reporter, right? Like,
that's what I thought too.
Riddler's dad was the reporter because one of his IDs, that was the reporter's name with his face on it.
I think so.
Yeah, like that's why he was an orphan. That's why he became an orphan.
And that's why he went on this path against the Waynes.
Yeah. And he had a real motivation from where he started, and he wouldn't know Falcone did it. Like, which again, that dude, and my wife said Little Nicky, and now that's going to be the first thing I say, even though the guy's been in a million different things. And I was like, really, Little Nicky? And now that's the only one I can think of. But
honestly, I think of him in Transformers, ironically.
Again, not like a Bronx Tale or Do the Right Thing or any of these movies that he actually acted his ass off, The Big Lebowski and yada yada yada. Like, it's all the worst movies he was actually a part of. He was amazing as the crime boss because he was just as big of a sociopath, and he was actually terrifying. Like the fact that the whole reveal that he's the one that killed Selena's mom and da-da-da-da-da. Like, I don't get how people don't like that. And the funny part is people didn't like how Bruce was treating Alfred. And it's like, do you not understand that Bruce is not mentally well? Like, this dude needs therapy and he doesn't get it. This dude needs professional help. He doesn't get it. His only person that he has in his life is Alfred. And it said it in the movie, but people are mad that he had these scenes where he's this moody 20-year-old. And anybody that's ever been in their 20s or a teenager, you get like that with your dad at some point, where you're just kind of like, leave me fucking alone. And it's like, and it has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with you and things that you're feeling. And da-da-da. You push people away. It's just a guy thing that happens eventually. And why do you do it? Because you don't want to.
Which is why the hospital scene was so big. He's like, yo, I thought I wasn't afraid of anything, but I'm afraid of losing somebody close to me again.
Yeah, and he grabbed his hand. He was like, that's you, man. Like, that's the closest you're gonna get in a that good of a way to Bruce telling Alfred he loves him. Because it's one of the things in the comics that you get perpetually annoyed at Bruce about. You don't tell the people he cares about that he actually does care about him. It's always him thinking it. He's never actually just hugs them and says, yeah, I do. Because that's his own fucking mental illness. He literally keeps you at an arm's distance because he's scared of losing you. That's why that scene when he's driving home and he finally can see Wayne Manor and it's smoking and he looks like he's about to cry. Because that was the one thing he was like, that's never going to happen. I'm not going to lose Alfred. Like, Batman will fucking snap if you fuck with his family in the wrong way. That's why the death in the family Red Hood is a thing now. But I really like that. I think that's one of the better Alfred portrayals, Bruce Alfred relationships. The people that want this talky Tony Stark-esque Playboy persona when he goes out in public. This takes place in a week, less than a week. The only place publicly he went was a funeral. Why the fuck is he going to be a drunken Playboy at a funeral? Like, Bruce Wayne is not known for being an idiot. Like,
and even then, sometimes he doesn't remember that he's famous because it's like, oh my God, Bruce Wayne. And he's just looking at him like, okay. Like, and he's still in Batman mode.
Who are you? What do you want? Like,
and he was still in Batman mode because he's there because he knows the Riddler is going to be there. So he's trying to find out who Riddler is, and everybody's coming up to him because he's Bruce Wayne. And he's like, yo, get the fuck away from me. You guys don't realize there's a psychopath here. And it's me, but it's also the other guy.
Oh, yeah, that's one of the crazy parts that people don't get. Because, like, one of the cooler retcons about his parents is Martha visiting Arkham. Like, this movie, she got turned into an Arkham. That was like her maiden name. And in the comics, sometimes it's alluded to that she's going to Arkham for help. Other times it's that she's just going there to help people. Other times it's because they're visiting the half brother or the best friend Thomas Elliot or her kid. So there's different reasons, whatever the dirt is. I think more often than not, it's her going to get help because she is mentally unstable. That's why she becomes the Joker in the Flashpoint timeline where Thomas Wayne lives and becomes Batman.
Right.
It also explains why Bruce is a little crazy. Like, he just uses his crazy for what he thinks is good. Again, what he thinks is good, because another good Easter egg in the movie when he was just getting buckshots to point blank range at the top of Gotham Square Garden, and he shoots himself with that steroid. That's like Venom, right? Not Venom, one of my favorite characters, Venom. Venom is what creates Bane Venom.
Bane Venom, yeah.
But that's what that was alluding to, right? That's the same shit.
Yeah, the adrenaline stuff, yep.
And because he punches that, and that dude was caught the ass whooping of his life because he was just like, and everyone was like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, I like how they're about to kill you and he's just going off with his hands and they're like, all right, calm down a little bit.
It's like, hey, you all right? And again,
you guys couldn't tell we really like the movie because all we're doing is thinking of parts we like. If you want us to be critical, I don't really have anything.
No, the one thing, so I one of my favorite movie critics, they didn't like the Falcone thing and they didn't like the twist because they said it's unrealistic. How do you go to a mob boss to take care of something you don't know he's going to kill somebody, right? But to me, I think of it also, we forget white privilege is a thing and rich privilege is a thing. Sometimes I can see somebody who's rich going to somebody like, hey, you do stuff like this. Can you get this guy to leave me alone?
Also, Thomas Wayne isn't Bruce.
Yeah, and not think, oh, he might actually just kill him. You know, I want him to like bribe him or get some dirt on him or do something to get him.
Politics, yeah.
Right. I didn't know he was gonna just straight up go for the murder part of it. I can see
that, but that's one of those, it depends on who you're talking to. This is me being a nerd. I'm just throwing that out there to everybody. This is not actually anything I read. For when it comes to Thomas Wayne, while that makes sense to Bruce, for Bruce to hear it, that's exactly what Alfred needs to tell Bruce. That's what Falcone needs to tell Bruce. But when we see Thomas Wayne, like when we actually see him and he lives, he's one of the most brutal versions of Batman that exists. In the Joker, that wasn't an hallucination scene when he grabs the Joker and straight up says, "If you fucking come near my family, I will fucking end you." Like, that's exactly who Thomas Wayne is. The crazy part is Martha. The brutality part about that protectiveness is completely Thomas. That's why Bruce is like that. So people like, oh, well, he wouldn't. That wasn't a twist. Like, that's part of the Long Halloween storyline that he helped save Falcone, and he's like, hey, you owe me one. Oh, and that was the dirt. That's exactly what Falcone's like. Yeah, of course I'm going to do that. Like, that's my dirt on the future mayor. So, like, I think that's the hint that he didn't have him killed, was because he was trying to make sure he had the puppet already. Because the whole tragedy of the Waynes is usually it's not an ordered hit. That really is just a random guy that shot him. That's the sad part. That's the tragedy. Because, like, Falcone, they weren't strangled. And the movie set up that Falcone does it, they're getting strangled. Like,
Well, no, that is another part though too, where they say like, "Why the hell would you tell the guy? I'm gonna tell the police what you did, but I'm gonna tell them tomorrow." And we go out because I have a movie to go to tonight at 7 o'clock at the Gotham Theater. Like like why would you do that? And that part, I'm like, yeah, that is a little far fetched. Like, why would you tell?
I thought you meant the twist as in like Selena is the daughter. Because that's one of the darkest parts. That's like one of the, no pun intended, but that's one of the darkest
part that, because they're like, so really he didn't know that he was going to kill the guy. And then when he found out he killed the guy, he told the guy that just killed the guy that he's going to tell the police on him. But then he said, I'm going to do it tomorrow. So I'm going to give you 24 hours to like stop me from telling on you. That part, I'm like, yeah, that's a little, that was kind of stupid. They should have figured out a better way to do that. But
it's fun. It's funny though, because there's a bunch of like unreliable narrators in this story about Gotham 20 years ago. And me and you like Game of Thrones. Like, it's funny to me that when it comes to comic book movies, the viewers, right, just are like, they're lying. Why would they do that? That doesn't make any. Yeah, they could be fucking lying. Like, that is part of the story, guys, that these guys that are telling you the story that happened 20 years ago, like it happened in the movie with Falcone, like he's lying. He's not actually telling the truth. And just because we spend 2 minutes hearing this detailed story, just like in real life, these are fucking sociopaths and they're lying. Like, I just like it, some of it's just like, guys, it's not that deep. Like, these are not all good people. We're literally talking about mobsters, politicians, and people that are part of the worst parts of Gotham. And some of y'all are mad that their stories aren't lining up about something that happened over some grimy shit 20 years ago. Do any of y'all listen to hip hop? You listen to 90s heads talk about what happened back then? Apparently now it's all a mafia movie in the Wild West, because it's not like media existed back then and we have videos of all these motherfuckers acting up. No, it's all dramatized and bigged up, because that's how people tell stories after 2 decades. So I like.
Best believe when I have kids and grandkids, I'm gonna tell them COVID was like a zombie apocalypse. Like, then there I was with a flamethrower.
Well, I'm gonna tell when my son gets here. When my son gets here, I'm gonna be holding him. I'll be like, we fought off 18 Nazis at your birth. 18 Nazi zombies. Why were they Nazi zombies? We don't know. We just fought them off.
Because Russia was doing something in Ukraine. It was really weird.
Russia broke them out of Chernobyl, flew them over to New York, just dropped them in. They started ransacking the place. We all fought them off. I don't know why I do my De Niro eyes, but
and we had TikTok to distract everybody from what was really going on.
Guys. But anyway, what were we talking about?
Yes, that's exactly. You're right. That's exactly what happened. Somebody's lying about lying. That's really that does not make sense that he would go and say, Falcone, how dare you? I'm telling you, like I said, tomorrow, because I got this 7:30 showing at the Gotham Theater on the corner of 18th and Figueroa. So leave me alone. I'm gonna be with my family and my wife. Oh, by the way, do you like these new pearls I just got her?
Where do you like rank this in your Batman movies, though?
This is easily second all time, maybe even first. I gotta watch it again. But I agree with you. Better than Batman Begins, better than Dark Knight Rises. And I'm a guy who loves Dark Knight Rises. A lot of people don't. I absolutely love Dark Knight Rises. I love it almost as much as I love The Dark Knight. So for me to say that the Batman is better than The Dark Knight Rises, I'm telling you, this is a good movie.
You know what's funny though? I saw people talking about the writing of this movie, and my friends, which again, if you're more of a film or movie person than you are a comic book person, I kind of give you this gray area to work with in this movie. But at the same time, just as a film, this is better than Batman Begins and Rises. Like, Rises has more plot holes than people want to admit. So does Batman Begins. But whatever. That for this movie, that people have a problem with how Matt Reeves uses silence. I'm just surprised.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Everything about this movie was so. That's as a film. Forget the comments.
John Turturro. I had to look it up. It was bugging the shit out of me. We're praising John Turturro. Falcone. You know what I mean? Like we have to say his name because that dude deserves the props of that
so
role.
sorry you had to make me do this, just like I had to do this to your mother.
Oh my god, that was dark. That was like,
and because he was, some people didn't like him. They didn't think he was convincing enough. I said no. I think the fact that he was so charming, everything like you say it all the time. Like that's what makes it creepy. The fact that he was charming, the fact that he was so charismatic, the fact that he was hitting on her, not realizing that's his daughter. Like that's what makes him creepy. That's what makes him a good Carmine Falcone. Like that's yes, that's what makes that shit crazy. I to me, as a movie critic, I love it. Forget the comics of it. The fact that they use silence, the fact that they use the environment to tell the story. One of the critics made a good point. Robert Pattinson's eyes, right? Most of the time, like they use the blacked out eyes or the things over the eyes so you can't see. His eyes told you so much, and the way they shot it was so great. Where, especially when he's as Batman, he doesn't have to say much. His eyes were telling you everything that was going on in that scene. And it really worked. To me, as a film, I think it was better than just a comic. Like, forget the comics part of it, because
this movie's never going to get the respect it deserves as a film.
But
because you're right. You are 100% right.
I as a storyteller and filmmaker, like that, I think that was what made this movie so amazing.
He had showed emotion. What you're saying about the eyes cannot be understated. There are scenes where he's completely in the bat suit and he's not saying anything, but he's reacting. And it shows you how good Robert Pattinson is as an actor, because he's pretty much doing what everybody that apparently never paid attention to Batman casting in history, from Keaton to Ledger to now, is that don't freak out at the Batman casting. But he did exactly what he was doing in Twilight. The difference is he had more to work with and a better director.
Yeah, now
because it's the same look. It's the same. Just think about it. It's like to stare off into nothing and just to try to show emotion. You have to have a bunch of different factors so we as the viewers know exactly what you're feeling without you saying a damn thing.
And not to everybody just knows him for Harry Potter and Twilight, but it's like he's done so many indie films that now that like he's become a fantastic actor. You just know him from the two things.
Oh, The Lighthouse is a
yeah. You just
it's a film.
You just know him from the two things he's done as a freaking child. So you know what I mean? Like that's just not even fair to hold him to those standards when it's been what 15 years since Twilight. You know what I mean? Like so, that's how that's supposed to work. I mean, he just did a great. I think everybody killed their
role. The whole cast. Like we barely talked about Catwoman, and I really liked her. I thought you cared about her as like a character, not just that she was sexy. Not that Michelle Pfeiffer.
And that was another thing. They didn't sexualize her. They didn't sexualize anything. And there was a lot of stuff in there that was supposed to be sexualized, right? You see him looking at her through the window as she's getting changed, but it wasn't in a sexualized way. She's
just hot. There's a difference.
And there was a scene ripped right from the comics. So that's just what that was. In the club, when there's supposed to be all these, prostitutes and drugs and all this other stuff, again, could have sexualized it, didn't. Like to me, it was just a really, 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 really good movie. The way that club scene alone, that was amazing. Like the shots that they did in this movie, the acting, to me, like again, this is one of those things when people say, "Oh, I don't respect comic book movies." You're just hating, because some of these comic book movies are just great movies. If this was the same movie, just a detective film,
oh my god,
and not a bat on the guy's chest, we'd be talking about Oscar.
Well, you know what we'd be talking about? You see that Seven ripoff?
like if this was just a detective film without characters that we recognize, we'd be talking about how great of a movie it is.
This is my second favorite Batman movie now, and I'm saying that and I still like Batman '89. Like I don't talk about it enough. Me and you should actually do the reviews of the old two ones, Batman '89 and Batman Returns, just because we haven't. And those are probably the only other two ones we actually do like. But like, I love that movie. I grew up on that movie. So me placing these movies higher than that, it's more of a compliment than I'm shading that movie, because I still watch it. I love You ever Dance with the Devil in the Pale Moonlight? That, Jack Nicholson is a completely different Joker than what I love Heath Ledger's Joker, like what I love that for. And in this movie, I've never been a big Riddler fan, guys. I have Batman comics. I can do what I did with the Carnage Pod and get on the camera and literally show you my stack of Batman comics. Riddler is not one of my favorite villains, but Paul Dano, he's one of those actors that if he's in a movie, I know he's bringing it. And I'm here for it. And the fact that he didn't die, because that's the problem with a lot of Batman movies. They usually kill the villain, even though Batman doesn't kill. Yeah. But usually in these movies, he dies. Like in Batman Begins, did the villain die? Scarecrow didn't die. No, the other one just got blown up and then pushed out of a train. But Batman doesn't kill, right? In Batman 89, the Joker survived. All right, Batman doesn't kill. But anyway, in this one, I think they did such a good job at adapting all the different Batman. Like, I like Batfleck a lot for a completely different reason. That's old, grizzled, cynical Batman. This is young, cynical Batman. Everyone's like, why is Batman so emo and depressed? I was like, that's very redundant. So you're just asking, why is Batman Batman? Like, I don't understand. Emo and depressed is Bruce Wayne. I don't understand how people think this is a character change. It must be the eyeliner or the eye black that he has around his eyes. People are like, he looks so emo. He is emo. He is. Like, you guys just are coming to terms with him as a character, because this isn't new. You just got used to Hollywood doing more of a Tony Stark impression when it comes to Bruce Wayne than actually showing you what Bruce Wayne is. Because one of the truest Batman films is the animated one, Mask of the Phantasm from the 90s. The only reason he's a person in that is because he actually had feelings for that woman. Mm-hmm. Like, he's not heartless, but that was what that was showing. This is the last time he actually was like, oh yeah, let me try to have some type of normal life. And then boom.
And again, I think they're setting that up. That was part of the thing that Alfred was saying, like, yo, you have to be Bruce Wayne too. You can't be Batman 24/7. So in the sequel, we probably will see him be more of Batman. And by the way, somebody also made a good point too, where this is more of a modern version. So the Playboy version of Bruce Wayne, that's kind of outdated, right? The fact that Riddler was a guy live streaming and stuff like that, like, Batman, a lot of people still kind of use like the old mafia style of villains for Batman. I was like, well, it's the 2020s, you know what I mean? Like, they wouldn't be like that.
You feel old when they showed you, because they said that Selena's mom died when she was like 7 or 8. And then it showed her gravestone and said she died in 2004. And I was like, she was born in 97. Ouch. I was like, yeah, she was born like after the Batman movies that I grew up with. Like, I was just like, oh man.
And so that's part of it too. You have to modernize as much as you can. You have to modernize the character to some point, because Batman always usually takes place in like this this weird, psycho Futurama 40-ish.
No, they make it a gothic. The term is a gothic noir. So they call it like a neo noir,
right?
So, neo-noir. It's like Batman Beyond, honestly, did it in such a way where it's kind of hard not to reference them, because that drawing is exactly what most fans picture now when they show a future Gotham, which is funny because Gotham is now a city that feels out of time in a lot of movies. Nolan did a really good job. Reeves did a really good job. I really think because Gotham itself needs to be a character. So in a Batman movie, the city needs to feel alive. And I don't know anyone that's going to argue that Gotham wasn't a character, because it felt like a real place.
Yeah, it felt amazing. Matter of fact, that's one thing, like some of the people that criticize the movie, first of all, every critic that I saw loved the movie. They were just pointing out certain things that they didn't like. But every single one of them said, no, Gotham felt so immersed. They made a good point. Besides the bat symbol, you never saw the sky. And it was the way they shot it, like the fact that you never see the sky, the fact it's always raining. Like, Gotham had such a powerful presence in the movie, as it should. And I love that they had Gotham Square Garden. Like, they were not running from the fact like, yeah, this is New York.
Well, that's the crazy part about Gotham, right? Because if you look up the oldest where Gotham's supposed to be in DC Comics, supposed to be in Jersey. Then most people say Jersey City, because If you've ever been to Jersey City before the 21st century, yeah. But it was on the South Coast, kind of like a Bizarro World, Atlantic City, not on the west side of Jersey, on the east side. But it's supposed to be a Jersey city because Metropolis is New York. So I always found that interesting because as the property got bigger, the IP itself got bigger, it turned into a more New York or Chicago, and sometimes a Baltimore, depending on where you want to show Gotham, because there are times where it's shown where Baltimore is. So I always take exception to it because Manhattan is supposed to have this upscale quality to it, and Gotham.
That's what. So somebody, I forgot who told me this a long time ago. They said when you think about Metropolis and Gotham, it's supposed to both represent New York, but the different sides of New York. Metropolis is obviously, Sixth Avenue and Manhattan and everything else, and Gotham is supposed to be the slums of New York that people kind of try not to, we kind of forget about in terms of what New York is. So Metropolis is supposed to represent everything we love about New York, and Gotham is supposed to represent everything that we don't like. But the problem with that is, and one of the critics said this too, in Gotham, the one thing that they didn't do in this movie, and they'll probably do later, because the point you made, there's a funeral, and that's really the only other time he leaves the Batcave, in terms of for Bruce Wayne. A lot of times with Gotham, it's so bad, you ask yourself, why the hell would anybody live there? So you really do have to show why people would live there too. Because Gotham's so bad sometimes in these depictions, it's like, why would anybody in their right mind live there? Why is there a rich part of Gotham? Because if Gotham is, think about it in the real world, if Gotham was this, if any city was this bad, nobody with more than $2 to their name would ever live there.
No rich people live in Chicago?
Right, but that's what I'm saying. There's a downtown part of Chicago, and then
but that's Gotham too. It's just funny because again, people like in the Batman, it takes place over 6 days. So people say, oh, how come we didn't see this? Because this isn't a Nolan film where they're just kind of glossing over how many months are passing. Like this is just a week, not even. So we're not going to see everything, and I'm fine with that because if you do too much, if it doesn't work within the story, that's when people are like, well, this felt out of place. So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. I do agree. In the next one, there should be one scene during the daytime of him being Bruce out in Gotham. Sure, but like, does anybody really need it? Unless it works perfectly, I don't really care to see it. Like, but if it is a Court of Owls storyline, there are so many ways to incorporate Gotham in the daytime that you shouldn't really be worried about it. Because for those who don't know, Court of Owls is pretty much Gotham Illuminati.
Well, yeah, I'm about to say, if it's a Court of Owls, I'll guarantee you this: you're probably going to see more Bruce Wayne than Batman, because once again, that's a villain that attacks a different part of Batman. They attack him and his inner beings with being rich, because that's what they are. They are the Illuminati of the city, and as a Wayne, he's the biggest name in Gotham.
Yeah, and they don't know they're another one that like he's like, do they know I'm Batman? And they don't. They're attacking him because he's a Wayne, not because he's Batman. So it's one of those things where there's parts where they're like, ha, what is Bruce Wayne gonna do? We'll just throw him in here with a couple talons. And then they're like, what the fuck you mean he escaped? Like, how do you escape? What the fuck you mean he beat everybody up?
Mind you, they only attack him because he's Bruce Wayne and he's refusing to join the Court of Owls. So it's like, no. Every major family is supposed to join. That's how we stay in power, because we are the power. If you're the biggest power in Gotham and you're not joining us, you're our enemy.
Yeah, it's a new world order. Like, it's one of those villains that the New 52 needs more credit for coming out like this side of 2010. I think it's came out this side of 2010 because it's a newer villain. Like, we're talking about guys that like you're not going to see 60s imagery if we're doing Court of Owls. You're going to see some awesome artwork from the last 10 years or so. So I'm excited for that. Freeze it would have to be another serial killer, which if we have a whole trilogy of Batman solving serial killers, you're not going to hear me complain about it.
I'm okay with it.
Like Asia said, Clayface, and I'm just trying to think. Like, I don't think they could do Clayface in this world. Don't get me wrong. If you could do Clayface with the technology we have, it'd be dope. But it would just
but he wants to do more realistic villains. So what would probably happen is, especially with the whole flooding, they'll probably make it so the flooding and everything is what killed his wife, or at least made his wife sick. right?
Well, dude, I told you off, like Freeze, you could do a couple different dark versions of Mr. Freeze. Like he could just be a serial killer, like like what you said, incorporate the wife, and he freezes people. Like you don't got to do the whole suit. Don't get me wrong. If he's a scientist and he's working on crazy shit, and it's like there's plenty of ways you could be creative, and people will give it a shot if you do it well enough. He could be a guy injecting you and freezing you from the inside, or you know, If you do it like the Riddler, people will be like completely open to it. But I think you should go court, because if it's not Court of Owls in the second one, they could be the big bad in the third one. Because essentially what Nolan did, the League of Shadows was the big bad the whole time.
Right.
But I'm with you. I'd rather them just kind of give us a few more breadcrumbs of Joker next time and have him be the third movie. Like Court of Owls and Mr. Freeze could be the second movie. Don't get me twisted. You could do both at the same time. But like, I don't know. Court of Owls, you could just do the Court of Owls. Like they have their own cannon fodder / bad guys for Batman to fight with the Talons. And it's a whole thing like owl, like, you know, the owl eats bats, So it works. And that's another thing I liked about this movie a lot. When the last clue was the bat, and no one knows that he's actually terrified of bats, but how scared he looked to reach into that cage and grab the card. And I was just kind of like, this motherfucker jumped off a skyscraper. But he's like, fucking ew. Like he's terrified to reach in this cage and just grab a card.
Hey man, I don't think that rat likes you very much.
And he's just standing there like, it's not a rat.
It's not a rat.
Like the way he looked at it, he's just like, I can't believe I got to do this. I can't let them see I'm scared. I can't let them see I'm scared. Like he's fucking nervous as hell to reach in there. And it's like, you're getting shot at point blank range in this movie. But the bat is what you're like, it's bullshit. I didn't sign up for this. Like, of course it's a bat. Of course it's a bat in a cage.
It had to be a bat. But anyway, let me go. But this great movie. If
you guys couldn't tell, we really like the movie. This is just
a terrible movie. Don't see it.
So yeah, we both rank it extremely high. It's 5 stars for me, man. I liked it. Agreed. 9 out of 10. If I had to be critical and not say it's perfect.
Agreed. I'll go 9.5. I agree. I mean, the little issues I have with it aren't really issues.
Give me the 4-hour director's cut. I want it.
I'm here for that too. You can find me at Never For Brett Me. That's NEVA_4 BRETT_ME on Instagram and Twitter.
We're at _dope blog on Instagram, at the dope blog all one on Twitter. I'm at Not the Chuck D on all the socials, and you can find all of our pods and blogs and YouTube vids at www.thedope.blog, and go check out Brett's mock drafts.
Yes, sir. Please do. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe, and join us next time as we continue to discuss other people's excellence.
Peace.
We are the Dope Blog.